Boston Billy, hailing from Boston, Massachusetts, hit us up. He said, which coaches or teams have to be in must-win mode this year? We saw a historic coaching carousel, so it's a tougher exercise than I thought. I don't know that it's that difficult. We came up with these names pretty quick. Mike Norvell's got to lead the list. When you're talking about must-win, like got to get it done in 2026, Mike Norvell and Florida State have to be at the top of the list. It seems the most obvious. So they went 2-10 2 years ago. That was the huge disaster season. And then, shockingly, they beat Alabama in week 1, kind of dominated Alabama in week 1. Looks like they're off to the races. And then they still finished 5-7. There's all kind of hot seat talk. Turns out the buyout is really all that saved him, and it was public. It's just kind of known that that was the case. They've just had their worst 2-year stretch since 74 and 75. So here's what could happen. Of course, their season could go in the tank for a third year, and he loses his job. They could pull the nose up and have a great year, in which case this is all a moot point. But also, that buyout's still going to be high this year. So the other thing that could happen is he's not fired because we can't afford to fire him. Then fan apathy sets in, which in the long run costs you more than the buyout costs you. So Mike Norvell needs to win. That's how you silence all that. He needs to win. I think Shane Beamer may be on this list. 2 years ago, less than 2 years ago, really, South Carolina 9-4. They're knocking on the playoff door. They just miss out. But outside of that, he's gone 7-6, 8-5, 5-7, and 4-8. 4-8 was the most recent year, last year. And you got Lenore Sellers on this team, and you've paid a lot to keep him. And you got Dylan Stewart on this team. Likewise, you paid a lot to keep him. And you got to ask yourself, South Carolina fans start to wonder, 10 years from now, are we really going to look back on this stretch of having Lenore Sellers and Dylan Stewart on this team, and we didn't even make the playoff, and they expanded the thing to 12? We didn't even make the playoff? Well, that's to be continued because we haven't seen how this year turns out. But that's kind of what makes it a must-win. And look, I'm not going to say that it was extremely loud, but there was some noise around South Carolina and around Shane Beamer last year towards the end. It's a tough job, man. He knows that, though. But it's a tough job. But Clemson's kind of down right now. So this is the opportune moment. Because remember, for a long time, Clemson's run looked like it was never going to end. And now Clemson's run, at least when it comes to being dominant, has subsided for the time being. You got to take advantage of it. What about Wisconsin and Luke Fickell? Bradley loves when he starts to roll B-roll, and then I switch teams. And I'm not going to say I do it on purpose, but I kind of do. Luke Fickell has gone 7-6, 5-7, and 4-8 at Wisconsin. It's just not good enough. It surprises me a lot because I still think he's a really good football coach. And it felt like his DNA and that program's overall historic DNA were such a match. And I just think if Luke Fickell had it to do over again, I don't think he would go the offensive route he tried to go. But he did. And then he bailed on it. But still, when you've recruited and you've staffed one way and then you want to sort of 180 it and you want to go another way, ask Lincoln Riley how that goes defensively. Well, it's happening offensively at Wisconsin. Brett Bielema, Paul Chryst, these are coaches in the recent era of Wisconsin football. Here's what's crazy. Wisconsin's won 9 games combined the last 2 years. I want you to think back. Bielema, how many single years did he win 9 games? Try 5. Paul Chryst, the guy that wasn't good enough, the guy they fired. Chryst also had 5 separate 9+ win seasons. They've won 9 the past 2 years combined. So they made a ton of moves in the portal. Number 15 in the On3 portal rankings. They had 33 come in. They had 23 go out. So that's a lot of portal churn. But really what it comes down to is quarterback has been snake bit for them. First off, Tanner Mordecai just wasn't it. And then Tyler Van Dyke got hurt. And then Billy Edwards got hurt. And, well, that's it so far. It's been 3 years. So Colton Joseph is who they turn to this year. Old Dominion transfer. It's got to be better. It's got to be way better. Hey, do me one favor right here. Look down. Are you subscribed to the channel? If you are, thank you. If you're not, please click subscribe. It helps us keep the show free and free of corporate interference. All right, that's it for me. Back to the clip. I think Lincoln Riley's on this list too, though, at USC. Riley's best year was his first year. And they went 9-4 last year, but it felt kind of hollow. They got beat pretty soundly by Oregon at the bowl game, which, again, people kind of anecdotally value bowl games, but it went the way it went. They got to click noticeably this year. This doesn't mean they have to win the Big Ten, or I do think they have to be in the playoff picture. I do think that they got to be right there because they just finished number 1 overall in recruiting. 2 years ago was their great reset, which I personally was willing to give them time for. But the whole context of that was, all right, you're admitting your mistakes in terms of defensive personnel. And they hired D'Anton Lynn. Well, he's now on to Penn State, but they brought in Gary Patterson. But still, you should be trending up defensively, and they are. You've got a third-year starter at quarterback in Maava. You should be good there. But more importantly, the overall just caliber of the roster should be improving year over year. And if they're not in the playoff mix this year, then there's going to be a lot of looking around out there saying, man, we got so many facets here that work. Is our head coach sort of the loose end? Is that the wobbly tire? Now, I'm on record as saying I still believe Lincoln Riley can get it done. But he has to do just that, get it done. Now, there was an entire separate bucket of coaches that I did not put on my list here. I had 5 names or 4 names. Sark, you could make the argument for, but that's a totally different kind of pressure. I think Kalen DeBoer is the same way. Sark and Kalen DeBoer are not facing like job security type pressure this year. There is immense pressure to level up the performance. For Texas, I mean, there's an immense pressure to compete for a national title. For Alabama, at the very least, do things like run the ball effectively, which leads to playoff contention. That sort of thing has to exist with those two this year. Matt Rule at Nebraska, I didn't really know what to do with him. I didn't really know what to do with Nebraska because I can't say he's on any kind of hot seat. They just massively reworked his contract to keep him because there were rumors about Penn State. However true they were or not, there were rumors about him. So he's not on a hot seat, but the rule, the year 3 Matt Rule deal, it just didn't click last year. And then Bill Belichick at North Carolina, I don't really know what to make of that either, only because they were bad last year. Schedule gets tougher this year. You got to figure the roster will look a whole lot more like they want it to look. But also, I don't know, like how bad does it have to be? How bad does it have to be at North Carolina? We're not talking about Texas. We're not talking about USC. So I don't really know. I think the whole Bill Belichick pressure picture, I kind of think is a wild card to me.